Oh, just a little Orwellian. So now you know. How many folks we got so far, Claire? 23? 23 Lincolns. We're waiting on 4 more, 5 more, something like that. 4. Okay, outstanding. Well, we've given you all 30 seconds. Too late. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to keep fussing around here. Y'all do the same. It is great to see so many folks ready. But I'll fuss with my stuff if you fuss with yours, and we'll meet back here in just a second. Okay, there's that. Well, while we're waiting, maybe we'll use this. We'll do a little out of order. Does anybody who has the recipes and stuff have an issue with an item or anything you had a problem getting, or do you have any questions about the items?
I have a question.
Please, Prudence.
Why is Chartreuse so expensive?
Taxes probably, but what they'll try to tell you is that it takes these monks who make a vow of silence and split the recipe into 3 parts, so not anybody knows all of the recipe. Years to perfect this, blah blah blah. But it's quite expensive. It's quite expensive. You're right. I believe there's 140 some odd botanicals in Chartreuse, so I'm sure the foraging aspects of stuff, or at least the accumulation, gets expensive. But I think, and this is just a guess, of course, because the market will bear that price. So they're going to keep selling it for that price. Tastes like magic. Also, yes, tastes like magic. Okay, we're dragon 2, huh? Okay, so we're going to start with some basics right off the bat. Pardon me? Oh, I'm being told to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Shannon Healy from or of Alley 26. That is not where we are, but here for another of our monthly engagements. And we'll talk more about next month's being a little truncated, because if we skip 1 week, we can land right on the 5th of May, which seemed very apropos. So, but at any rate, thanks again for tuning in for one of these things. And certainly our little group of Confederates that seem to be the same folks, which we've really enjoyed. A lot of y'all coming back again and again. And we got a few new people I'm hearing. I can't see, so I'm going to take Claire's word for this. But first thing we're going to do is make sure we have some of the things we need. On your list of stuff, on the left bottom of the page, it should say what glassware. You need a small glass. There's a coupe. This is a Nick and Nora, but a coupe will do. Coupe is this shape, but smaller. This is a Grand Coupe. A Collins glass of some kind. And it says Grand Coupe or large martini. So this one's going to hold like 10 ounces, just so you know why. That's the Grand and Grand Coupe. And this is a tiny little Nick and Nora. It holds about 4.5 ounces. I believe this is an 11-ounce glass. So that gives you the size range. But as we've said before, and we'll say it again, these are kind of best case scenarios. If you don't have these, something else will do. If you don't have that, if your vessel holds fluid, it's going to work in a pinch. Okay, so first thing we're going to do after making sure we have these is make sure we have these cold. So because I don't have access to a freezer here with space. If you do, use the freezer. I'm going to put a little ice and a little water in each of these glasses to temp them down. Just so when I start making the drinks later on, we're using nice cold glass. Just like that. See how nice and cold that looks? This guy over here. Now this Collins, in all truth, we're going to make a crushed ice cocktail in this glass. So chilling the glass is, in this case, just gilding the lily here. Here's our small glass. What we're going to do with that is do a little practice, just the wee bit of practice. We're going to try to find the 1/4 ounce measurement on mine. It's the small side, the bottom indentation, or it's not an indentation, actually bumps out, but look for that 1/4 ounce, pour that just like this. So we can talk about Chartreuse. When you're smelling spirits, you don't twirl it around like wine. Now this is a liqueur, not a spirit, but it is 110 proof. So if Jim Beam, all the tequila in your closet is all at 40%, this is 55%. That's all 80 proof. This is 110. So this is a liqueur, but it's coming full strength. So when we're smelling higher proof things, don't swirl the glass and leave your mouth open when you're smelling. So you're looking at it. What is that color? Oh, it's Chartreuse. Yes, I've been waiting all day to say that. And then we're going to smell it. When you're smelling high proof things, you move the glass from one nostril to the other slowly, because during the day, it switches which nostril does what. The one nostril will usually do larger molecules and one nostril will do smaller, and they'll tag off. So you'll get different smells depending on which nostril. I love Chartreuse. And I always, when describing the flavor of it, where's the, I don't see it. Another one of these liqueurs that claims to be made, or at least insinuates that it's made, but this other one is lying, by religious people, is Benedictine, which is not made by Benedictine monks. But it's also delicious. Benedictine smells like fall in the forest. You know, it's nutty and woodsy. This smells like running through the forest in springtime. Really green, really herbaceous, kind of first bud, very fresh. We chatted briefly at the end of the last class about the difference between green and yellow. Well, green is Chartreuse, the color. It's not actually the first use of Chartreuse. Chartreuse used to come in a little tiny bottle and had a lot less sugar, and it was even higher in proof. And it was a tincture, it was a medication. Like almost all of high proof things, it started out as medication. And we do like to have fun with medication, don't we? Okay, so now we're gonna take a small sip. When you're tasting something high proof, just get the smallest possible amount, like 3 drops if you can, on your lips, and like move it around. Get it to all the corners of your mouth. Breathe through your mouth when you're done. You get a lot of the flavor. If you leave your mouth open when you're breathing, you also get a lot of smell through the back of your mouth, your nasal passages in the back. And once anything warms up on your tongue, you're really letting that go, or letting the smells, or activating them. So you're really getting a lot of that nose. Now, we're gonna make cocktails with this. So if this is too strong for some folks, relax. It's just gonna be an ingredient, I swear. But for those of you who think, oh, this is candy, you're also right. Okay, so that first one, we just put a little bit. Now we're gonna take just a wee bit larger a sip, just because we love it so much. Oh yeah. Now, with that larger sip, the drying aspect of the 55% ABV really comes into play for me. When it's just a couple of drops, the saliva versus booze ratio in my mouth doesn't make it so hot, but you start getting, you know, 1/8 of an ounce in your mouth and you're like, whoo, that's coming. Oh, it's so tasty. Okay, there we go. That's Chartreuse. It's the most famous liqueur in a style of liqueurs called Genever, which is a French mountain herbal style of liqueurs. There are herbaceous liqueurs or liqueurs all across mostly Europe, but worldwide, but mostly Europe, that are made with herbs or fruit or whatever, and they're made by religious people. Even to this day, Rome likes to take money. They don't like to give money. I mean that in a nice way. Please don't send me hate mail. But so when you go to small religious orders, monasteries or such, they'll often make things to sell so they can kind of support themselves. Just because it's a religious order that's part of the Catholic Church doesn't mean they get money. That means they're religious. It doesn't mean they get money. They get paid for it. Okay, so Chartreuse is part of that tradition of religious liqueurs, and that also comes out of alcohol production in general. First, fermentation. All of the area of Burgundy in France, all of it was carved up by religious folks, figuring out exactly what the best plots of land were, right? So during what they used to call the Dark Ages, now we call the Middle Ages, is that right? Try to shed some light with a hip new term. The repository of literacy and knowledge was with the religious orders. They were taught to read and stuff, and where other folks' literacy wasn't so hip. So those things that they had learned previously, like fermentation and how to make alcohol, were kept within the religious orders. And then later on, when they learned distillation, and then they learned way to like trap delicious herbs and botanicals in spirituous alcohol, that repository of knowledge was kept with religious folks. So you'll see both wines and then later on spirits and liqueurs that have religious connections. And Chartreuse is an example of that. Okay, enough of that. What do we think about the flavor of this? Feel free to unmic and tell me what you think.
Love it.
Okay.
I think it's the new, people could easily take shots of that.
I think they could. I think they already do. I won't speak for you or me. I won't speak for me. Never did it myself lately.
I think it does take some getting used to, though, right? I think
Certainly.
This is one of those drinks that you've got to, you either love it or you don't. There's no in between.
I think it also is one of those things where your first sip, you love it or you don't, right? And I remember being a child and would walk around the mall, and you walk by Gloria Jean. I don't know who's old enough to remember Gloria Jean.
Yeah, coffee place.
It was the coffee place in the mall, right? As a child, I would walk by like, that smells amazing. And then every once in a while, I'd take a sip of coffee. I'm like, oh, that's disgusting. So I knew immediately I didn't like it. I now love coffee. So I think this is one of those things where maybe you don't like it to begin with. This is something you could learn to appreciate. Okay. Limes. The last drink calls for an express lime coin. So I'm going to cut a coin off the side of this lime like that. This is what I mean by a coin. Just a little piece of the skin, not really any fruit on the backside. You can do it like that, or if you're not having luck, like flatten it a little bit with your palm and then run a knife like that, and you get a nice coin. The trick is you don't want, if you have like pulpy fruit on this side, just kind of carve it out, because when we use it later on, you don't want to be dripping lime juice in there. Okay, I'm going to take those two coins, I'm going to save it over here. Stay right there. Then I'm going to take my other limes and I'm going to cut them so I can juice them. Because we have 2 drinks, not one, but 2 drinks that call for lime. Now, even the ones I have here vary greatly in size. But limes in general, they go from, is that a green orange? To like, wow, that's the cutest little thing I've ever seen. So when I say this general rule of thumb, I want you to understand it's so general to be almost useless that the average lime gives 1 ounce of juice. Okay? So I'm going to squeeze these 3 limes after I cut my coins. And here.
Hey, Shannon, it's a little bit difficult for me to see, but when you say coin, are you talking dime, penny, quarter, Sacagawea dollar?
Quarter. Yeah, sorry. It's easier to cut like a $50 out of an orange. You know, you just have a lot more running room. Claire, there was a little trash can over there, and I'm going to need it. Not that one. There was a tiny little guy before I start chucking things everywhere. Just see that. It's not going over well. What is this chartreuse about? That's good. People should try that. Okay. Now we're getting down to business. Brass tacks, if you will. Does anybody know the etymology of the phrase brass tacks? Don't tell me the tacks were made of brass. Okay, I'll take that as a no. So I'm just squeezing some limes, just getting my limes, getting my prep done. Hopefully everybody got the cherries and the dehydrated pineapple. If you didn't, well, it's your loss, but it won't ruin your evening. But the cherries are delicious, and Claire did a fantastic job dehydrating the pineapple.
I'm looking forward to the dehydrated pineapple. Most of the time when I've done Chartreuse Swizzles, I've done a nutmeg on top.
Oh yeah, also nice. I mean, when's nutmeg not nice? But yeah, I think especially if you're serving one, and John, we can certainly riff on this, like a little green tea instead of chartreuse, and the missus would love this kind of thing. And then that pineapple is certainly prettier than the nutmeg.
Shannon, you ready for the origin of brass tacks?
I am.
Used as the final piece of decoration on a coffin,
Yes,
thus getting
Yes.
down to serious business.
that is serious business. Wow. Literally the final nail in the coffin.
Yes.
Well, that's 2 expressions from the same exact source. Wow. Okay. I guess death really puts things in perspective. Okay, so that was our little chit chat about what that was. And now we're going to move on to actually making that first cocktail. That first cocktail is going to be a stirred cocktail. We're going to find that coupe, or in my case, right here, this little Nick and Nora here. We're going to build the cocktail. I like to build, generally speaking, from the smallest ingredients up, and then finishing with the base spirits, finishing with the booze. So the first one is this one that says cocktail number 1, and that's tails. So you'll notice these are the 3 we're doing. I did not come up with the chartreuse swizzle, but the other 2 I did for tonight. But all the other drinks are chartreuse cocktails that I did not invent. Normally I give you a mix of, like in the other great cocktails to drink, it's a mix of more stuff that I came up with and some classics thrown in. But because chartreuse has been with us since certainly since Prohibition in cocktail making. So cocktail making, very quickly, cocktail making is a very American, right? But we didn't really include a lot of foreign ingredients until Prohibition. Once Prohibition happened, 2 things happened. One is that most of our famous and competent bartenders were just told that they were now illegally dispensing things. So a lot of the biggest ones moved to Europe. And so while they were over there for 13 years, they started incorporating more local ingredients. And that's really when you get the flood of European liqueurs into classic cocktails, into that canon. So here we're going to do, this is not a classic. It's one we made up, and you should be able to see what it's based on. It's basically a martini. But because Chartreuse is so prominent and it really loves other flavors, especially in white spirits, it'll work in anything. So if you have a different white spirit of choice, go ahead and use it. I'm going to use gin. But Chartreuse loves the vegetal aspect of agave, so tequila is going to work. But if you do like a Blanc tequila or a white rum, just make sure it's a good one. You don't, like, this drink is going to showcase the quality level of your base spirit. Okay, so a 1/4 ounce of the Chartreuse, just because I'm starting with the smallest ingredient first. Although, as Prudence was correct to point out, this is certainly not our cheapest ingredient. Then we're going to do 3/4 of an ounce of our dry vermouth.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Would a Navy strength gin be too overpowering for the Chartreuse, you think?
No. No, it might be overpowering for the drinker, drink number one, to have 114 proof gin and then 110 proof liqueur on top of it. But it'd be awful delicious. Are you talking about the Durham Distilleries Navy?
Yes, I have both the dry and the Navy strength, so I was debating between the two.
I'll make no, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. That Navy sounds fantastic. Probably not leaving the house tonight. But that Navy sounds fantastic. The American dry will make a nice cocktail, softer cocktail, but the Chartreuse will definitely dominate more than it will the Navy strength. I hope I answered your question artfully.
Yes, thanks. I'm gonna go
Okay.
Navy. Call in.
Which are you going for?
Going all in on the Navy today.
Yes.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I'm going to use that too.
Oh, I love this. We are. And I'm sure there's a certain Katati that's doing that.
Unfortunately, I don't have the Navy strength. It
Oh,
just says
I
regular.
heard. I'm so sorry.
They were out, right?
They were
I didn't
out.
mean,
They
I
were
didn't mean
out.
to bring it up. I didn't mean to bring it up.
Well,
But I
it
was
would
We
told.
be.
have conniption though.
But we do have the American Dry.
Okay, which is going to be great.
Which is
So
going to
now
be great.
y'all can compare.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is all, I got my 1/4 ounce of a Chartreuse, my 3/4 of an ounce of Dolan Dry. You can use your dry of choice, but I think Dolan is solid and delicious. And 2 ounces of my spirit of choice. I chose Beefeater London Dry Gin because I often choose Beefeater London Dry Gin.
It's taking too long.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. Looks like there's nobody at Hattie and Curtis's bar there. Stir that a little bit. Then I'm going to dump my ice out of my object glass. What was that? Oh, talk about stirring, she says. So when I'm stirring, I'm just literally going to take the back of the spoon against the glass and then stir like this. When you're stirring, there's no elbow, there's no anything. You're literally just letting it spin in the middle of your hand. Like if you're not actually holding it in any way. And honestly, this stirring motion is the reason for this twisted thing. So it can like kind of barber pull through your hand. And that's all the stirring I want to do. I can feel it getting cold. I don't want it to get too watered down. Oh, yes. So excited. So excited. There you go. And cherry. Now, if you look at this drink, we made a martini and then put a 1/4 ounce of chartreuse in here, which is just a little hint sweet, but also because it's 110 proof, it's fairly dry. So we're going to put a little cherry in there, kind of let people know that this is not what they signed up for if they thought they were getting a traditional Manhattan, martini. And then cheers, everyone. How we doing? Oh, look at that. John's already on it. Take a sip of this. How's that, Jack? Oh, yeah. That's the head nod. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We went with the Blanco tequila, so.
Yeah. Which one? Which brand?
Terramana.
What?
Terramana, the rocks one?
Oh, I don't know that one. It's North Carolina. We don't have a huge agave selection here.
It's pretty good, and they even sell it at Costco.
Ah, okay. They don't do any of that where I live. But
Well, that's how you know it's good. Costco approved.
Costco approved. President's choice. Mm. Yeah, that's tasty.
Like it.
What was that?
I was telling Allison she didn't think she was going to like it with the tequila,
Oh,
but
wow.
I think she will.
I think she will. And did you see what I mean by agave and chartreuse?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they
It
love
just
each other.
kinda like softens everything up and makes it really silky smooth.
Yep.
Very
And
good.
Shannon, I went with the cruisin' aged light rum. Or the-
Okay. How'd you
the-
like that?
Oh, very good, very good. The chartreuse really comes forward with it.
Yeah, the chartreuse is gonna not have any problem handling that. And also, keep in mind, we only used a 1/4 ounce. We used a 1/4 ounce so that the whole drink you could enjoy. In a perfect world, I like to say we can taste everything in the cocktail, right? We're not trying to hide anything. We're not trying to mask anything. If somebody says, "Oh, this is great. I can barely taste the blank." It's like, well, why did you put blank in the drink? Okay. Comments, concerns, conundrums.
What kind of
Hmm.
tequila would you use if you were going to use tequila?
If I was going to use tequila in North Carolina,
North Carolina.
I would special order Fortaleza. I might use
I don't know. This is just the
Corlejo.
First cocktail. I
because-
thought you might like to try it.
What was
Stem
that?
only, stem only, stem only.
Can't hear you. Oh, okay. So those, I love those a lot. What's the other one that we can get here that I like actually? El Tesoro is nice. No, but what I'm thinking of is, that is what I'm thinking of. Tesoro. It's now El Tesoro. Sorry, I forgot. It got L'd. So those three are good in North Carolina. Also, what would be nice, but change mildly the expression of this drink, is an añejo. Or excuse me, that would change greatly the expression of this drink. What I meant to say was a reposado. So, there's those three tequilas, the three main styles of tequila. There's Blanco, Reposado, Anejo. The middle style is just got a little more vanillin on it. But the plus side is it's even smoother. The downside is that you lose, like while you get the smoothness and the vanilla to round things off of that style of tequila, rather than Blanco, you lose some of the vegetal aspect that really loves the chartreuse. I'll put that right there. Stay right there. Okay. A lot of people going for Navy strength. Okay, we know our market here. Okay, I think maybe we're going to do a Navy strength class before too long. Have we done a Navy strength class already? We did a gin one. We didn't guilt anybody to Navy strength, but we did. I did use Navy in that class, didn't I? Yes, because it's delicious. Okay.
And
How
it's
are we
local.
liking? What was that?
And it's local. And it's local.
And it's local. It's local, but not everybody here is local. Chuck, Prudence is
Yeah, I
coming in
have
from.
to carry bottles of it back in the car because you can't ship it into Massachusetts.
What is the? You have Blue
well.
Coat. That's nice stuff. It's very, very different than the Navy Strength, of course. But that Blue Coat is like for good American gin is pretty rock solid, and that's from your neck of the woods, right?
11 Machu Picchu.
Blue Coat's from
Peach.
Philly.
I sent it to him.
I'm sorry. What was that, Patty?
Blue Coat is from Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Okay.
Yeah. It is very tasty though. You're right.
It is very tasty. Thank you.
Yeah. And the barrel age they make is really good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Patty, I depend on you.
I have a brother in Pennsylvania, so I can get things.
Yeah, sure you do. I know you know a friend. You're
I have a
asking for a friend. Outstanding. Well, I don't really want to hurry people through this particular drink because I mean it's tasty, but it's a full drink. So, does anybody have any questions so far? What was that? Oh, okay. That's a little narrow.
Shannon, do you have any observations on the interplay between Chartreuse and Vermouth?
Not specifically, other than they work really well for the same reason that I was recommending agave spirits and Chartreuse. In one case it's vegetal, in the other case it's herbal, which is to say dried vegetal. So like they work on that level. And sweet vermouth, or sweet, I shouldn't say sweet vermouth, blanc vermouth, which as we know is actually the sweetest style, but is white, not red, works incredibly well with agave, and also with Chartreuse. But in that case, you need to have some kind of drying component as well.
The reason that I asked was the two flavors that are most prominent in the drink that I made, because I use that Cruisin' aged light, is the Chartreuse and the Vermouth.
Yes. Well, which is what I was saying, that the Chartreuse, even at a quarter ounce, was not going to get lost with that particular white rum. So white rum's entire like raison d'etre is cocktails. The original white rum was the Bacardi company came up with something to kind of make it okay for gringos who are visiting Havana to spend their money in casinos to drink a local product. So they came up with the idea of that category. And even in like the old ads, magazine ads with Bacardi, incredibly mixable. Try Bacardi with Coke or orange juice. So they weren't really selling the whole category on nuance. Now I do like 4 white rums available in our market. I do like the Cruisin', as you know, because it says Cruisin' aged. And those early Bacardis, which I just had a chance to taste a pre-Castro white Bacardi the other day. And it's amazing. A friend who tasted me on it, Matt Kelly, he gave me some. He's like, it tastes weird, doesn't it? I'm like, yeah. He's like, it tastes like an agricultural product. I was like, yes. Doesn't taste like gasoline like white Bacardi does today. Because originally, white rum was made out of sugarcane, of course, but it wasn't made on the stills they have today, which can really just refine it up to the nth degree. But also, it was traditionally barrel aged, the white rum, and it was a really odd spirit because they would barrel age it for months to years and then filter the color back out, which made white rum a really unique white spirit. They don't do that most of the time now, and I doubt very seriously any of the Bacardi white has ever seen the inside of wood. But like that Cruisin' does, and some of the other ones do. And you can tell because it'll have this like faint yellowing to it. Not yellow, but like a faint, not clear, unlike most of the really modern commercial white rums. But to John's point, I should say, yes, we chose all the ingredients in the drink because they get along. And I thought letting you all choose the 2-ounce white rum of choice, or excuse me, of a white spirit of choice would A, do 2 things. A, you're probably going to like it because it's going to work. And B, if it's your choice, you probably already like that spirit. So this drink is really salt and peppering your spirit of choice. If you like a bold, like really like high altitude agave spirit, this is going to work really well. If you like something that's really soft, innocuous, kind of blank canvas, like that white rum, this is still going to work really well. Okay, moving on. Next drink. The next drink is a swizzle. Now, a swizzle is both a thing, meaning it's a stick. I should go back a little bit. In Trinidad, the traditional way of cooking, they would take these sticks, these branches off trees, and they'd come down and they'd split like that. And they would carve all the thing off. So you had basically what looks like fingers like that coming off the stick. And they would use those to stir pots and move their food around and stuff. And once they started having kind of tourists in the late colonial era, they started making drinks for them, but the tools they always grew up using were these sticks. So they just found smaller ones to make their drinks with. And that's where the swizzle stick is born. Here, I don't have a swizzle stick handy, which is really a shame because that was an oversight on my part. But we're going to get the same thing done with the trusty handy dandy bar spoon. I'm going to use this guy right here. Put the spoon in like that when I'm ready for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our liquid in, we're going to put our spoon in, and then we're going to put our crushed ice on top. Okay? So here we go. We're going to start with I'm going to start with the sweet stuff and then go to the acid and then go to the chartreuse, right? So Falernum, also a different island, but a traditional product, this one of Barbados. And we're calling for a 1/2 ounce in this. This is flavored with, traditionally on Barbados, it's an island, it's landlocked. So they do have some agriculture, but they import a lot of things. So Falernum originally was made out of extracts. They would get extracts and they would make a syrup and they would put a bunch of extracts in it and to get the flavor they wanted, which was clovey, allspicey, limey. We tried to use a little more natural ingredients like lime juice when we make ours. So you can see the ingredients on the back of your bottle: sugar water, ginger, clove, allspice, nutmeg, and lime. To get to kind of a fuller idea, more natural expression of that. Some Falernum on the market, like John T. Taylor's Velvet Falernum, has alcohol in it. It's 11%. It's a cordial. But on the island, most expressions of Falernum are alcohol-free. They're syrups, like the one we're selling here. Okay, so there's a 1/2 ounce of that. And then I'm going to do lime. What did I do with it? There it is. Do 3/4 ounce of lime. I'm going to pour it on the same side. So there's a 1/2 and another 1/4 makes 3/4. I'm going to pour it on the same side of the jigger so I can clear out, use the acid to clean out all that Falernum because it's delicious and I want it in the drink. I don't need it in my jigger. Then we're going to do pineapple juice. It's important to use unsweetened. Most of what you get on the market now is unsweetened. This is not from concentrate, really, really well. And then no added sugar. Okay, 1.5 ounces of that. Oh, getting crazy. And last, but certainly not least, 1.5 ounces of Chartreuse. Now, with the drinks I chose to share with you, other than this one, there are a few ones that, for St. Patty's Day that referenced being Irish or whatever, because it's green. I left those out because, you know, it's not Irish. Okay, now we're gonna use some crushed ice. Before I do that, I'm gonna put my spoon in first, right? Then I'm gonna get my crushed ice in there, get in there. What was that? If you don't have crushed ice, pebble ice will do. The smallest ice you have, or if you don't have any small ice, you can do what I did, which was take your ice and put it in a towel and beat the crap out of it. Although I didn't have crushed ice here, I did have this thing, which worked really well to break the ice, so to speak.
Shannon, I had no idea that you were worthy to wield the might of Thor.
Me and Captain America, I guess, right? Okay. Now, this is the swizzle part. You take it between your hands and you just turn it back and forth, and then you raise the spoon in the glass and you lower the spoon. Raise the spoon in the glass and lower the spoon. Raise, lower. So you're really mixing it up in the glass, which is quite handy. If you were going to make a dozen of these, you wouldn't be like using a different mixing glass every time. So pretty smart. Okay, and then this is where we get our dehydrated pineapple. Now, depending on the glass, you're gonna decorate this however you want. Oh, Claire, these are just pretty. Sometimes they brown when you do them, but that one Claire's on the case. I'm gonna put this right on top here. Ooh, and then there you go. Chartreuse Swizzle. Did we see it? Did everybody see it? Did everybody see it? Great, I'm gonna have a sip. Okay.
So Shannon, so besides it being a cool cocktail thing and a cool bartender thing, what's the purpose of doing the swizzle with the
To mix
spoon?
the ingredients, because like they're all on the bottom, right? And I put the ice
Okay.
on top. So I want to blend the whole drink up. So if I do this and then pull it up and then do it and pull it up, I can get those heavier ingredients to mix all the way up.
And that would be different than shaking or stirring.
Well, it would certainly be different with this kind of ice,
Okay.
right? The moment I shake this ice, it's either A,
It
gonna clump
melts.
together, or
Yeah.
B, just melt immediately.
Okay. That's it.
Depending on how cold the ice is.
So that's a crushed ice extra feature.
It's a crushed ice technique. So
Okay.
when we're using crushed ice, we'll either swizzle or I'll shake on regular ice and pour it onto crushed
Wherever.
ice. Or worst case scenario, but viable in some context, is like a mix of regular ice and crushed ice, quick shake and dump. But that's only if what you're doing in like, you're doing for some outdoor event, it's hotter than hell, and you're shaking and you're dumping to make sure that there's all the stuff, like say if you're making a caipirinha or a mojito, and you know how the stuff is supposed to be in the drink.
This is an impressive drink to wow your friends with.
There you go. How do you like the taste of it?
Well, I had one at your place
Oh.
a couple weeks ago. So now Carrie's making me one. So I'm going to compare.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, I'm for Carrie regardless of how the comparison comes out.
But I love it. It's a great drink.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, this is very tasty.
Cool. Excellent.
Shannon, on the crushed ice, something my mother used to do when we were little kids, she would take a carton, like a milk carton that has an actual spout on it.
Uh-huh.
And when it's empty, rinse it out really well, open it up all the way, fill it up with water. Then when it's frozen, take it out to the back stoop with it closed, smash it on the stoop, open the spout and pour it out.
Okay. There you heard. No, you can't use one of those recyclable, reusable glass ones for that. Excellent. Okay. For those of you who go camping, to make yourself freeze yourself a carton of milk, or a carton of ice, I should say, and then put it in your camp. And then if you want a fantastic tropical drink while in the forest, you guys are ready. I'm going to do that. I know. Sounds like I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. My wife is going to be so happy. Okay, what do we think about this drink and how, specifically, where's Sean? Sean, are you there?
Fabulous.
Okay.
Yeah, I normally don't like drinks with pineapple juice in them because it's too sweet, but this is quite nice. And I didn't have your ingredients.
Okay, so that's John T. Taylor's Velvet Falernum. That's what I was speaking of.
Okay.
It's a quality product. It's a boozier cocktail. She snuck even more booze in. Respect. Navy strength she started with and then went to that. I love it. I love it.
So
Can you do the dehydrated pineapple? I didn't, and I missed the memo on the crushed ice.
Okay. Did I not memo the crushed ice? Is it not memo? Okay. So do you have a refrigerator with the other style of ice?
No.
I don't know why I did that over and over. It's like I was on the
Regular
phone
ice
earlier.
works well too.
What was that?
Said regular ice works great too.
Yeah, like I said,
Drink is amazing.
a lot of times we're going to give you like a best case scenario. That doesn't mean one deviation will ruin your experience.
Hey, Shannon, can you talk about the difference between the green and yellow chartreuse and whether the yellow would also work well in this recipe?
The yellow would work well in this recipe. I would add like a 1/4 ounce more lime.
Okay.
Because the chartreuse, the green chartreuse is 110 proof, right? And it probably has the same residual sugar content as the yellow, which is 80 proof. So, and the difference between the yellow and the green is A, the proof, but B, the flavor profile. Yellow is a secondary recipe. This flavor profile and the deviations with the VEP and all the other stuff. The chartreuse, which is Genever, that style, that's the original style. So yellow was kind of an augmented thing. Now I wasn't there when they did this, of course, because I wasn't born. But yellow seems like the Hendrix gin of chartreuse. It's gin, but it's really easy to get along with, right? You say you don't like gin, try Hendrix. You say you don't like chartreuse, it's too pungent, try yellow. So it's not just the booze, it's also the flavor. So yellow tastes like you took green and cut it with honey and orange. It's just softer, more approachable. The thing I really love about yellow as a way of like using it as a gateway, use it in a margarita instead of Cointreau. Use it in anything that calls for Cointreau or triple sec. And you're going to get that orange note, but you're also going to get all this kind of herbaceous back end. But it's going to be muted compared to like how green forest the green is. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes I get excited and I forget if I answered the question.
No, that's perfect.
Ship to like Aperol de Campari, like that kind of.
Exactly. So, exactly. In fact, although it wasn't originally, it is a better example now because Aperol and Campari are the same company. Campari makes Aperol. And so Aperol is that kind of softer, easier, less bitter, half as much alcohol, actually less than half as much alcohol. The flavor is just a hint muted. It's less bitter, it's less orange, more grapefruit, but it's the same idea, kind of the JV. It's the gateway Campari.
Yeah, Shannon, after you mentioned the idea of substituting in yellow chartreuse for Cointreau or Curacao or all that, I tried it in a Mai Tai. It was fantastic.
Yes. I love everything you're saying. We're just going to continue to get along, my friend. Did I get an answer from Sean? No? Is she on the call? Oh, they're muting me. I'm watching you.
Hi.
Which Sean were you trying to get an answer from?
I was I know when we tried the chartreuse originally, I was wondering if Sean liked the chartreuse or if it was a little too much. And if it was a little too much, how do we like it in this cocktail?
You didn't say which Sean.
Oh, well, okay. I didn't say which Sean, but apparently we figured it out.
She's not home.
Oh, okay.
She's not on
okay.
the call.
Okay. Well, then I'll have you answer. How did you like the chartreuse to begin with? And what do you think of it in this one?
Yeah, I didn't do this one. I only did the first one because I'm here by myself.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So, but it's cool.
Okay. Okay. You know, you're by yourself. No one's going to know you had a second cocktail.
They might in the morning.
Yeah, we're going to start getting somebody else's mail.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any questions at all before we keep moving along?
No, Shannon,
Yes, Mom.
I just wanted to say this is delicious and we'll make it for Sarah when she visits.
Okay. Okay, that first one she'd like a lot too.
Yeah.
That first one Sarah would like a lot as well. You know she loves gin.
Yes, we'll have to buy some more gin.
Well, I think we can find that.
Okay. And
I know a
happy
guy.
birthday to Jack.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Shannon.
Yes,
Can we
Nancy.
get Falernum, I guess, for our drink syrup at Alley 26, or is there anywhere else we can get that?
Where do you live?
I live in Durham.
Okay. Are you talking about the Falernum specifically?
Yes.
Alley 26.
Okay.
A lot of our, like the tonic and a few others are around town, actually around the state, but Falernum is so particular that we sell it on premise to some of our like fellow bars and restaurants across the state, but we don't really have it out in the market. So you can buy it either at Alley 26 or we could mail it to you. But if you live locally, just pick it up.
Okay. Fabulous drink. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Are there cloves in it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So the back of this should tell you everything in the everything in this. Yeah. Sugar, water, ginger, clove, allspice, nutmeg, and lime.
Here we go. All right.
It's a complicated recipe.
It kind
Okay.
of it kind of reminded me of it was the Aragot. I'm saying that incorrectly. That we had a couple.
Orgeat.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So orgeat traditionally is an almond-based, like an almond syrup-based liqueur, and it's either flavored with orange blossom water, rose water, or both. So it's very aromatic, but both of them found kind of their dominant use behind the bar in that classic tropical tiki canon of drinks. Like that's where they really started to kind of become things you needed to have behind the bar. Because before that, there was no need for them, but they both kind of, you find them in similar drinks, even if they're different syrups. Okay. Okay. We've come to our last drink to make. And of course, as is our wont, the last one is usually the one that's I'll go slower on, and it's maybe something you wouldn't want to try at home without someone to walk you through it. So this is an egg white cocktail. I know everybody that's done these has done a million of these. You guys are old hats. but we got a lot of new folks on the call tonight, so we'll walk through nice and calm. I'm going to build the drink in the mixing glass that's part of my mixing tin set because we're going to need to shake this drink twice. Okay? So make sure you have something you can shake the drink in, because if you can't shake it, you can't make it. Okay? Then you're going to need some fresh eggs. I got a couple fresh eggs here. And then you're going to need all of the ingredients listed under the mood ring. I'm dating myself with these references, aren't I? Okay. Claire asked me earlier, why'd you call that mood ring? Like, well, when the mood ring turned green, you were in a good mood. Okay, so we're going to start building this. So what we're going to do is we're going to build this drink. We're going to shake it. We're going to strain it back into the mixing glass. And then after we do that, we're going to add the egg white to it. And I'm going to walk you step by step. Try not, unless you're really confident, jump ahead, because it's hard to go backwards if you mess this up. So we're going to shake the drink once we get it together like this. And then to open, once it gets cold, you're really going to seal, hopefully. You're going to get a good vacuum in here. And that's going to make it hard to open. So what you need to open it is to make this perfect circle that's right at the top of this mixing glass, not a perfect circle, for just a second. And all you care about is like the toppest millimeter. So you need to just pop it on the side like that, but not on the side down here, like just the very top of the metal, so that you cause a gap. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about? Yeah? Great. Okay, moving right along. We're gonna start with the sweet stuff. Raspberry. Now, we were talking about the ingredients being listed on the back of the Falernum. They are listed on the back of the raspberry as such. Raspberry, sugar, water. We keep it very complicated around here. Okay, this looks like the whole kitchen sink is in the drink, but those of you who've done this a number of times know what I'm going to say. It's all pretty much half an ounce except for the base spirit. So half an ounce of raspberry. Half an ounce of chartreuse. If you're making two, don't double it up. Make it in two different glasses. Outstanding. You got Claire monitoring the chat, so if you don't want to pipe up, you're of course welcome to just put something in the chat, and I will hear it and respond. So we got the chartreuse and the raspberry syrup in there. I'm going to put the dry vermouth in now. And then the lime. Do not skip the lime. Well, don't skip anything for flavor reasons, but for the alchemy of this drink, you need the lime. The citrus juice is what's going to cause the egg white to do the thing we need it to do, which is fluff up. Without the citrus juice, you're just going to have like egg white floating around in your drink, which is not very nice. Okay. And then last but not least, it says gin. I think gin is the ideal for this drink. But if you had that Blanc tequila and you were feeling, loco, you could go ahead and use that too. Or instead, I should say. But I'm going to go with gin because I'm feeling froggy. Ounce and a half of that. So we have in here half an ounce of raspberry syrup, half an ounce of chartreuse, half an ounce of Dolan Dry, half an ounce of lime, and an ounce and a half of gin or spirit of choice. Now I'm going to shake it and then strain it back into the same glass. So you're going to need your Hawthorne strainer at the ready. Everybody have that ready? Perfect. Glad to hear it. Okay, ice. Seal. And then a good shake. Okay. There we go. Turn it over. Hawthorne strainer, strain. Perfect. Now, we're going to take the strained cocktail and put it out of our reach, because we're not going to mess this up. We're going to take our Hawthorne strainer and the ice from this tin and dump it. So now I have an empty cold tin and an egg. That's all I got in front of me. I'm going to crack this egg, and I'm going to just get the egg white out. If for some reason you get yolk in this thing, just rinse it out and try again, because you have an empty glass. This is good. You're not going to mess that drink up. It's over there. Crack this. Gonna do that and that and that. And the egg white is in here. The egg yolk is in here. And my trash is right here. Excellent. Now I'm going to wash my hands, because there's egg white on my hands. Perfect. Okay. Everybody good so far? Okay.
Shannon, how is there foam on yours already?
Hold
It's
on,
not-
Shannon.
that's just from shaking. That's just from shaking.
I know. I shook.
It's gotta be
well, I don't
raspberry.
know what to tell you. I shook it like I meant it. There's a English nanny joke in there, but I'll leave
Hold
it
up,
alone.
we're catching up. We haven't gotten to the egg white yet.
Oh, nobody's okay. Slow down. I'm slowing down.
Thank
Has
you.
everybody figured out how to get the egg white in the tin? One drink at a time. Even if Carrie's got to make two. Yeah.
She's
Yeah?
working it. Yes, she's working
Okay, good.
it.
I like how you have the executive role here. This is great. Okay, so I have dumped the ice water from this glass, so it's nice and cold. It's right there. I got my egg white in here. If you want to get like extra geeky, you can take your Hawthorne strainer that we just used. You can take the spring off like that and put it in your drink. It's really, it'll make it a lot easier. This guy, the spring will act as a whisk. Okay, so there it is. The spring is in there. I'll take this cold glass. I'm going to pour the contents of this glass, spring included, into here, and then tap it shut. Lift it up a little bit. Make sure that it's sealed, because we really don't want to be wearing egg white. Okay, here we go. Now there's no points for ferocity. And how many times should you shake it? I don't know. You're going to shake it until you can feel the difference. You'll start to feel it get fluffy, like airy. I've seen people really go at it, really shake these hard. There's no reason. There's just absolutely no reason to hurt yourself, because you can feel the difference with this. Oh yeah. I can feel it. There it is. And then just a couple more. Oh yeah. Cracking it open just like before. I'm going to take this guy out and put him in the sink. So now I got my egg white cocktail here. And because I'm me, and if you're you, I recommend the same thing, is your Hawthorne's, your fine mesh strainer, which is called for on your list of stuff. Okay, I just want to know what the Tennessee contingent to give me grief. We're going to pour this through. Oh, look at that. Now, if you got room in your glass still, you can just keep clinking the side of it until you get all the egg white in there. There you go. The trick is to not use a smaller glass than you need. Now, for those of us who've done a bunch of these so far, you'll notice that often we'll pretty this up with bitters, right? Often, like a pisco sour, whiskey sours, often we'll put bitters on the top. Because they're pretty and they're aromatic. But just in case your egg has any smell, you should use better eggs. But just in case, a little aromatics on top are good. So we're not going to do that with bitters today. We're going to use that little lime coin. We're going to hold the drink by the bottom here. We're going to touch gently this all the way around the rim like that. And then we're going to take it between our fingers. And
Hey,
when we
Shannon?
pinch it, yeah.
Which side of the coin the inside or the outside?
Outside, always the outside. The
Oh,
inside
the
pith.
outside, okay.
No, you know what? Green side. Green is the only side. Great question.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. I should have said that. So just touch it. You don't have to push it into the glass or anything. Just touch it. Just touch it to the glass. And if you smell, you can already start getting the lime, right? Then You take it between your fingers like this, and then we pinch it. You can see the expressed oil like impregnate the foam top. Did everybody see that? Okay.
Shannon, how did you get yourself foamy?
I shook it.
The spraying, isn't it?
It's well,
If
it's.
it's
I
not
mean,
foam,
I
take
usually
it
don't.
more.
I usually don't use the spring, but I was just showing you. Yes, the spring does help.
He's a professional.
But
Yeah,
I
it's
saw
not
this
just the
done.
spring. I use the
Claire showed
spring.
me how to do this before.
I always do the spring. I never get them as foamy as Shannon.
No, I don't know. It smells limey. That's not an English joke. Okay, how are we looking? I want to see some drinks.
So Shannon, I have a question. How big of a
Please.
cheat is it to use pasteurized egg whites?
It's not that it's a cheat. You're welcome to use it if you're for some reason, if you're for any reason scared of not using pasteurized eggs, then you should use pasteurized eggs. I don't and never have, and I've never had a problem. I think between the alcohol and the acid, you're cooking the egg basically. But it'll work. It'll work. I've used them before because that's all I had. I'm not a fan of like the egg whites in a bottle thing. Like I like to use a fresh egg. Ooh, let's see those drinks. There we go. There we go. Allison, how's that?
Delicious.
That's a pro right there. Look at that. That's a pro.
You got a nice foam on top.
There you do. Outstanding.
What do you think?
Yeah, sure. Couldn't get that Shannon phone. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
Even
pretty
watching
good.
you do it, you still somehow came up with something.
I was timing myself alongside you. I was like, I'll just stop when Shannon stops, and
It's the spring.
It must be the spring.
the spring. We
She-
did the spring. It's
Yeah, it was
It's
all
the
there.
spring. It's April.
It's
I timed with
delicious.
Shannon. I used the spring. I got foam, but I don't got Shannon foam.
I don't know.
Shannon, how much difference does it make if you do the dry shake first? I just find it more convenient at home because it's less messy.
You do the dry shake first and then
Yeah,
add
with
the
the
ice?
egg white, and then I add the ice as the second
It's
step.
fine. It's fine. I find it's fine. It's fine. That's the way I did it for years until a bartender said, you should check this other way out. And then I tried it. It was a pain in the ass to kind of break muscle memory. But I like this way better, but the other way works and is more popular. Like it's the more classic way to do it. Doing the dry shake.
I love
first.
egg white drinks. I can really taste the chartreuse in this though.
I'm glad. You can or can't?
I can.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I wouldn't put it in there, hopefully, if you would taste it. That would be a waste of $63 booze. So this drink is basically a Clover Club.
Yes.
The Clover Club is one of the most, besides a whiskey sour, a Clover Club is probably the most famous egg white cocktail. And it was gin, raspberry syrup, lemon, and dry vermouth. So we just substituted the lemon for lime and added the chartreuse because not that I'm color coding, but lime, as we talked about, and herbaceous things like chartreuse really get along famously. Also, we wanted the lime to do a little more heavy lifting than the lemon would because lime is a little more acidic, and we're going to add more sugar with the chartreuse because we basically took the Clover Club recipe, same proportions of everything, and swapped out lime for lemon, and then added chartreuse on top. Clover Club is now a famous bar in Manhattan or Brooklyn. It's up in New York. Sorry, I forget. But it's named after, there was a gentleman's club, like a group of dudes, not a place, that this was their signature drink. And when they would meet, they would say, "This is our house. This is our drink." So the hotel would prepare them. And so the guy, the head bartender at that hotel, moved to another hotel first, and then moved to New York and took the drink with him. So it became a very popular drink, but he didn't make it up. It was this club's signature drink, the Clover Club.
Shannon, I
What was that?
made, I couldn't wait to try it, and I made a last word and used a maraschino liqueur. I wonder if you could use the maraschino instead of the raspberry in this?
Yeah. The short answer is yes. And then you're dangerously close to a last word already. With the egg white and everything, like this drink, if you substitute raspberry for maraschino, you're dangerously close to a last word already.
But the maraschino goes really well with it. So.
Well, yeah, I've had a last word too. There's a reason. It's a real popular drink. It's delicious.
Shannon,
Excellent.
I
That
have a
sounds wonderful.
question for you.
Yes.
What, for the jewel cocktail, what can we use instead of sweet vermouth? We have dry vermouth, we have Punta Mace, we have almost every.
Do you have blanc vermouth?
I don't think so.
It's the only vermouth we have, but we have a bunch of the other sweet things that have been used in relatively recent classes.
Okay. Okay.
Right,
So
I
you're looking at
have coaching, actually.
sweet vermouth. Yeah, you have Punta Mess.
Yeah.
Punta Mess is sweet vermouth. It's not Carpano Antica, and the only difference between, you're gonna like it actually more. And I'll tell you why, because we've met and I know who you are. But no, because I think you'll like this description too. If you took Carpano Antica and you cooked it down, so it was both like heavier and a little more bitter, and then you backed in a little Campari, just a hint to bitter it up, that's going to be basically what Punta Mess is going to come off tasting like. It's a little heavier and it's a little more bitter, and maybe it's a trick of the mind, but it comes off almost like smoky. Like there's enough of that Chinese rhubarb, I believe, in there that it actually, there's more of it than there is in most of the other like vermouth Torinos.
Well, you've convinced me to look for Punta Mess now.
Oh, it's delicious. I love it with anything agave. I love it with scotch and a Rob Roy. Rob Roy with Punta Mess it might be my favorite drink.
What cocktail class did we use Punta Mason?
I don't remember. It was probably scotch and smoke. At least that's what your daughter's saying.
Well, she's probably right then. We don't remember either, but Diana's pulling out the now book of recipes.
Okay. Okay. Well, there'll be some in there.
Whoops. It was too messy, so I put them in plastic sheets and put it in a notebook. Love it.
This is fantastic.
Easy reference.
This is
That
fantastic.
is awesome.
You could
Okay.
publish such a thing.
I
This is
did the
great.
same thing.
You
This is
did,
great.
Yeah. That's
Good.
funny.
You guys can do what my staff does. Just remind me of things. Hey, let's do that
I'll
drink you
find the
did.
Punta Mason. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm making her a cocktail
I love it. I love it. We know our place, John.
because we
know our
shared
place.
all night. We didn't.
Okay.
I think it must
Excellent.
have been the Scotch and Smoke, because I don't have Punta Mess and I miss the Scotch and Smoke.
Ah.
I love it. Okay, so this drink is different than the other ones. So should we do like a straw poll as to favorite drinks tonight? How many people think the first drink was their favorite? I got it. Okay. I got Patty, certainly. Okay. Cornelius. Okay. Cornelius, this is the only one you had?
Yes.
Huh?
I don't know that counts, but I'm willing to take it. Okay. Okay. Second drink.
Yep.
Okay. We got, a lot of fans for the second drink. I noticed tequila's not one of them.
I've got to
Okay. Third drink. Who's the favorite was the third?
Shannon, I I thought the second was the best until I tasted this one. I'm
Right.
voting for number 3.
Okay.
And what's interesting is we're not usually huge egg white fans of egg white drink fans, but
Yeah.
I thought that one was delicious and it may have been my favorite of the night.
Yes.
We're just winning. Akil, I didn't see you raise your hand at all. So did we just strike out?
I did this. I didn't have pineapple juice, so I just continued to drink the first one, which is really good.
Okay,
figured
I'll introduce
it's a
you and
reason
Cornelius when you're at the
for me to
bar
go.
at
I
the same
think
time.
number 3 is my favorite.
Thanks, Mom.
I would say number 2, but I have to say I don't like gin, but I actually really like the third cocktail.
I think you like gin.
I don't like gin.
I think you like gin. I think you like gin. I don't want to hear about that time in college.
Hey, Shannon, can you talk about a second about Old Tom gin?
Old Tom? Sure. Old Tom is the style of gin that predates, often is referred to as the Victorian era gin. So gin as an idea. Back this up just one real quick little bit. So everything we think of as quintessentially British is not, right? Well, the most British things are tea. I guarantee you there's no tea grown on the British Isles. Sugar, no. No sugar grown there either, despite the teeth. And of course, gin, which they make a lot of gin now in England, but originally it is Dutch. So what originally they had was, maybe I have it. Okay, here we go. Dutch or Belgian, but more famously Dutch. This right here is Genever. So this is what predates gin. And when the English army was in Holland fighting the 30 Years' War, and they noticed that the folks fighting for Holland carried a flask around with them and would drink before battle and give themselves Dutch courage, they would all of a sudden, they liked the idea. The Brits, the British Army folks really loved the idea of drinking before battle. They thought that was enlightened. So when they came back to England, they had a taste for gin and they started drinking gin. Fast forward a little bit, there were high taxes on ale, on beer in England. There were no taxes on spirits because spirits weren't a big thing. So they started making them, and it got to a point where there were, I don't know how many gallons of gin consumed for every man, woman, and child in London. The amount was staggering, and most of it was made by people illegally until they started taxing it. So that's when they call it, gin got the reputation for like being mother's ruin and all these terrible nicknames until they started taxing it and like making sure that people had licenses and weren't like killing people. So the style that came out of that, once it started like, was what the British had historically. It goes along side by side with the access to sugar. This is a long description, sorry. So at the beginning of when the Brits were, colonizing the Caribbean and turning it into one large sugar plantation, only the richest people could afford sugar. 150 years later, the average Briton's consumption of sugar went up 100-fold. Okay? So all of a sudden, now the poorest people in Britain are getting almost all of their calories from sugar, which is the teeth again. So, and we think of things that the British like, they really like these sweet things. So when they started drinking, we started drinking this gin, clearly the obvious fix, because the fact that we weren't using malt wine and making this amazing product that we're stealing the idea from, which is, really basic. Like this is a barley wine that's distilled with juniper, coriander, and citrus. I'll rewind on that comment just 1 second. So anyway, so it started this quality product that the Dutch had perfected over since the 1500s. And the Brits started doing it, but started doing it cheaply. So one of the ways to mask the cheapness of it was to make it sweeter. And that was also the predominant thing. People were seeking sugar, right? So then there's Old Tom. Now we make, so there was overlap in styles. Old Tom is the dominant style, but like the poor folks want what the rich folks can't get, or the poor folks want what the rich folks have, right? And you see that, I don't know if you've ever studied Freakonomics, but the whole like with ways names become very popular with rich folks, and then the poor folks have them, and the rich folks don't name their kids that anymore. So the same thing happened with sugar. Once the poor folks could get it and everybody had it, then all the rich folks started saying, like in the big city in London, they started, no, I want dry gin because I don't drink sweet stuff. Poor folks drink sweet stuff. So that's kind of the fashion of that. So Old Tom gin is just the style that predates London Dry. And it was softer, rounder, usually a little lower in alcohol and a little more sweet. But it's the same idea that juniper is the dominant flavor note or herbal note is still true. And some people think, oh, it was Old Tom and then it was London Dry. Well, it wasn't like that, because the same rectifiers, people making the base spirit, the grain alcohol, were the same people. They would sell it to different gin manufacturers, and they would gin it or flavor it with their botanicals and their sweetness themselves. So Old Tom is just gin before London Dry. It was the style before London Dry. And of the period, it was a clear spirit. Now we'll see a lot of expressions of Old Tom that are barrel aged, and those are tasty, but it's not historical at all. I hope I answered your question.
You did. Well, whoever said they didn't like gin, that's a much more approachable gin than dry gin.
Yes,
I think.
yes. So yeah, Tom gin has fallen out of favor, and it's coming back now. But it's the same idea with Hendrix, right? I'm going to give you something easier, more approachable, then maybe eventually it's a gateway gin. We had a question about poisoned. When I said, I made an offhanded comment. That was not that they would add poison to the gin. It's that if you don't distill properly, you can make people go blind. You can poison people because you're dealing with chemistry. And if you don't cut the heads and tails properly, so when you're distilling, this is the poison question. Somebody asked, what was the question exactly, Claire? Did it used to contain poison? The short answer is no. The answer, like contain as in like was poison added? No. Did it contain poison? Did it contain things that could poison you? Yes. And that is because if you distill something, the impurities that are in there are heightened, right? So you can't, when you distill something, you're not actually making alcohol. You're just removing water. But if I have a glass of wine that's 12, 13% alcohol, there's a lot of water in there, along with the good ethanol and the lighter alcohols and the heavier alcohols. Those light alcohols, those are kind of dangerous. And those are called the heads. So when you're distilling, if you think of the copper still and the tube that comes off, which is the condensing coil, what ends up happening is water boils at a temperature higher than spirits. So the spirits boil first, and the lightest of the alcohols, there's many kinds of alcohol. Ethanol is the one that is fun. But the lighter ones boil first, of course. So you're raising the temperature slowly, very slowly. So first the light alcohols boil over, and then the middle, the heart, ethanol, boils out. And then the heavier is the tails. So when you want to make a clean spirit, what you end up doing in one of those copper pot stills is you cut the heads and tails, meaning you wait for the first third to come through, basically, and you cut and use that, throw it away, or use it to clean usually use it as a cleaning solution. Keep the ethanol, and then you can run the tails back through because there's probably some more ethanol in there that you can get. But the idea of cutting to get just the heart, which is the ethanol, is important because the other alcohols are not ethanol, and some of them are dangerous. And that's where like isopropyl comes from, methyl alcohol, like other stuff besides ethanol that you don't really want to drink.
Thank you. That was very informative.
Sorry. Okay. Well, I think you've wasted another good night with us, and we've loved it. And
This is
next
never
month,
a waste.
what was that?
This is never a waste.
Thank you very much. I feel the same way.
And before we go, I got a quick question.
Yeah,
You mentioned doing a green tea swizzle.
I did.
I got Lipton green tea.
Okay. Like literally brew it, throw it in the refrigerator.
Cool.
Like brew it, cut
Yeah,
it, like
make cold.
stop brewing,
Yeah,
throw it
yeah.
in the refrigerator, and then just use that as an ounce and a half.
Cool.
In fact, I might brew it a little stronger, not longer,
Yeah.
stronger. Like, is that loose tea?
Oh, no.
Is tea bags?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 bags.
Use, like, what does it recommend? 1 tea bag and like 6 ounces of water?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Use like 2 tea bags and 8 ounces of water.
Yeah.
Brew it for, if it says brew for 5 minutes, brew it for 3. Okay. And then pull the bags out and put the thing in the refrigerator. And then when you're going to have a chartreuse swizzle at the house and you want chartreuse for 2 in your house, maybe you can substitute the chartreuse for that green tea, and that's going to be delicious. It won't taste anything like the chartreuse one, but it will be
tasty.
delicious.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Of course. Okay, so before we go, this is the time we usually chat about what to do next, but we've already settled on agave in May, I believe. So we were thinking, I'm going to be out of town the 2nd Thursday, but also the 1st Thursday is Cinco de Mayo. And it seemed like maybe, unless y'all are going to go out and get rowdy at the taco place, that maybe agave spirits would be a fun class to do on Thursday, Cinco de Mayo. And Claire had the idea of, instead of choosing between tequila and mezcal, we'll have a kind of choose your own adventure class. And we'll make drinks that could go well with one, the other, or a blend of both. How does everybody feel about that?
Perfect.
Okay.
Could you make
Really great.
recommendations about the mezcals for those of us who are
I will.
new to having mezcal at home? I'm actually going to be on the road to the Kentucky Derby that day, so I don't think I'll be able to make it, but I'll sign up
Okay.
for the class so I can get the recipes.
We can send you the recipes. It's fine. Just so along with the recipes on the recipe sheet, we'll add some suggested brands. Okay.
Okay.
Now, in other markets like Boston, you probably have some really cool liquor stores, which from your time in North Carolina, you remember don't exist here.
I remember actually, I think I might have got my chartreuse for cheaper than you, the stupid ABC with their monopoly over you guys.
They do. Some things are far more expensive here. Some things are cheaper. Most things are more expensive.
Most things are more expensive. I was shocked.
So we're thinking about doing choose your own adventure, agave, and I'll list some brands, and we'll do all of the stirred, the shaken or mixed in some way, and then the kind of ludicrous, which this would be that kind of idea, kitchen sinky ones, and then we can do it with either tequila or mezcal or a blend of both, depending on the drink. Who's that? Cornelius.
Yes. We have not used the Punta Mes. It's listed in the other great drinks,
Yes.
but we have not used it in the class.
Oh, you haven't used it in any class?
No.
Did you do Scotch and smoke?
Yes.
I
there
didn't
was
see
no-
it there. We found it in the Glenmorangie in the Rob Roy.
As a secondary.
Right, but we haven't used it.
We haven't used it. Okay.
Correct,
Was it in a kit?
No,
No.
it's
Oh.
just listed under more great drinks.
Okay. Well, I think I've already copped to a Punta Mess Rob Roy being my favorite drink. So I'm here to tell you, yes, more great drinks. Are you looking for Punta Mess options?
No, I've had your Rob Roy at College 26, so I
They
second that.
And
Okay.
maybe for June, it should be a Punta Mess class.
June. Okay. We can do some vermouths or Punta Mess, whatever, either. That's
Our
fine.
bottle is empty. It had to have been in some class.
I think it was in some class.
But just don't. know
It was
what.
not.
It was not, well, it's not like Cornelius has been skipping lots of classes, so I don't know who to defer to. But I will say the Catatis have the library of classes at their fingertips, apparently. Okay. And I don't know that this is the
So do
only
I.
empty bottle that's at the Catati house. I'll just say it. Okay. Does everybody like the idea of agave in May?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Okay.
I found an extra agave.
Okay. Don't
In
put that in
fact-
class. Don't put that in a drink.
I know. But wondered if you had tried it or heard of it or.
So salvaje. No, I mean, I know of extra agaves. I don't have that one in this market. Extra añejo, sorry, extra, that's what I meant. So an extra añejo, are you familiar with the category?
I am not. I was actually in a liquor store in Nashville and they were sampling. I tried it. I bought it.
You just say things to make me jealous, don't you? So extra añejo, literally in Spanish would mean, in English would mean extra aged, right? So if Blanc is aged less than 30 days, there's no discernible color and it's open vat. Reposado means rested. So they're resting it also in really big tanks, right? Not a lot of wood contact. Anywhere from 61 days to 1 year. So clearly that Reposado style is very brand dependent because it can be, your Reposado can be 6 times older than mine, 2 months rather than 12 or other way. Añejo is between 1 and 3 years. Extra añejo is more than 3 years old. So that, I'm sure wasn't a cheap bottle you bought.
That is true.
So we're going to do a class next month and you're not going to use that. Okay. You're going to just
Had
sip on that.
had no plans on using it. That's without a doubt a sipping tequila.
But so you enjoyed it.
I did.
Are you a tequila fan in general?
Yes.
You are.
It almost tastes nothing like tequila. It's got a slight hint of tequila.
Yep.
Yep. It's hold on, I got a shot glass here.
It's not a shot glass. I couldn't
It's
find
not a
it.
shot
Just,
glass.
just pass it this way.
But that's the color in it.
Danny, you were fired.
That's
You were
fun.
not pouring shots like that in my bar.
That does no good for us on the other side. No good.
What was
for
that?
us on the other side. I said that does nothing for us on the other side. I'm like,
Exactly. I'm trying to reach. So Danny, I'm coming around on extra añejo rather. I keep saying it wrong. But for a while, I just didn't understand it because I want tequila to taste like tequila, right? And once you get that old, all of a sudden you really lose that urbacity. Now, the one I had, the first one I had was the 1949? What's the big one? The one that's available. What was that?
Don Julio?
What was that?
19.
It's 1942.
19, okay. I had that, and my first impression of it was, Danny, just like yours. Like, this barely tastes like tequila. How much did I just pay for this that barely tastes like what I ordered? So I think people need to understand what they're getting. Like if they love the kind of Don Julio is what is it, 1949?
42.
42. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. I got fact checkers here. This is great.
The Real that they have tastes like vodka. There's no flavor.
My problem with Extra Anejo is that it doesn't taste enough like tequila to me, but I appreciate now that there are expressions of it that are better than the only one I can get in North Carolina. I'm still a firm believer if you don't like something, it's because you haven't had the good one yet. And I think Extra Anejo, there's some excellent expressions of it. I don't know that the Don Julio is the one that I should base the entire category on, because I find, if not vodka, I find like it was kind of like a soft brandy. And I love brandy. Cognac is one of my favorite things, but I can get that. And I don't need it to say tequila on it. But how did you like the one that you're showing us here? Because I've never seen that one before.
I loved it.
You loved it. Excellent. And you're a tequila guy.
I'm a tequila guy, and I tried that, and you still have the hint of tequila there, but it was very smooth.
Yeah, I see that, and that's the thing that people don't. Some people just assume age makes something better, and it can in some ways, but everything is a trade-off, right? Even in bourbon, if you drink a young bourbon, you're going to get a lot of that yeast, and you're going to get a lot of that like bright red fruit. The older your whiskey gets, the more the barrel is going to take over, and the more spice you're going to get, but the vibrancy of the fruit gets lost or faded, muted over time. So maybe that 15-year-old bourbon is better than that 6-year-old bourbon, but it's not going to have the same cherry profile. And the same way, if you don't start with really flavorful juice in tequila and you get to extra agave, you might have lost too much. But if you get to sorry, I keep saying agave, God damn it. If you get to extra añejo, if you get to that extra age, it may not handle the ride. You know, if you don't start off with like a real thoroughbred, you might not make it the distance with flavor. You might get to the end of it and you've overaged it, which happens a lot with really old spirits of any kind. And although the numbers for things like rum and tequila tend to be smaller than whiskey, it's not, the numbers don't mean the same thing. Meaning 4 years in the Caribbean and 4 years in Scotland are not the same thing, right? Because of the climates, the temperature. If you're in the Caribbean or in Mexico, it's hot. So you're going to get a lot of heat, and the aging is going to be faster. Where if you're in Scotland, it's going to be slow and gentle. So if you're talking about extra añejo, then you're clearly in Mexico. Hopefully you're at high altitude, so you get hot days and then cold nights, or at least you get some winter, because you need both the hot and then you need the cold to push for the barrel to shrink and push the juice back in. Otherwise it doesn't cross over the line. You don't really get the same, the magic trick doesn't work with barrel aging unless you have hot times for the wood to soak the fluid up and cold times for it to shrink and push the wood back, the fluid back over the char line. That was more than you needed, sorry. Okay, Danny, thank you so much for sharing that with us, but please, next time I'm in Tennessee, share some with me.
Well, actually, you can come visit, and when you come, I actually got a barrel of bourbon from Winter Park Distillery for my 60th birthday, and it's ready this summer. So we're
this
going
summer,
down,
you said?
Right, we're going down next weekend to pick up the barrel. They're going to bottle it for us, so I'll make sure I save you one.
Okay. Claire and I are talking and making plans. We're making plans. This
On the
is
other
fantastic.
hand,
On the other hand, the Butlers are way overdue for a Durham visit. And so not only could he bring it, but we could come down to the alley.
Don't bring booze to my bar. I'll show up at your house.
No. I meant to partake of some other thing.
Okay. Thank you so much. This is a delight. And as always, one of the favorite things that Claire and I get to do every month. The folks that we're seeing all the time, we appreciate the new faces. Thank you so much for giving us a whirl. Next month, agave spirits. We're going to keep trying some different stuff. And if you have any ideas for other things we want to do after agave, so June, it doesn't have to be themed to June, but lighter, brighter things, maybe rum. Maybe it's going to be a warm month, so we can think like that. We can talk about this month, next month. So I look forward to seeing you all in May, if not
Thank
sooner.
you, Shannon and Claire.
Thank you, Prudence.
Hey, Shannon,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If I have a drink recipe I can't fix, can I send it
Okay.
to Claire and have you take a look at it?
Why don't you just tell us what it is right now?
It's called a Trinidad Sour.
Oh, yeah. What do you have to fix
It's-
about it?
Well, it's 1.5 ounces of bitters, the rye, the lemon, and the orgeat, and the bitters are just a little too heavy for me.
Okay, well, A, it's supposed to be a truck ton of bitters. B, I think that truck ton is, if I remember the recipe correctly, it's 1 ounce, not 1.5 ounces.
Oh, the recipe I was given was 1.5
That's wrong.
ounces of bitters, and
That's wrong.
1/2 ounce of rye, 3/4 of lemon, and 3 ounces of the orgeat.
No, absolutely not. Don't do that.
Okay.
Let's never do that again. Yeah, let's fix that right now. She's gonna email you or put it in the chat. 1/2 ounce rye, ounce, exactly. 3/4 lemon, 1/2 orgeat. Yeah. Hold on. No, other way around. It's 1 ounce of orgeat, 1 ounce of orgeat. It is.
Oh.
I know. It sounds ridiculous. Claire's like, no, it's not. It's like 1/2 ounce or something. It's 1 ounce. Oh, you're right. You're right. It's 1 ounce of Angostura. She's right. She wants everyone to know she was right.
She was.
She was,
That's
as
my
it turns
girl.
out.
Claire is always right.
That's what she keeps telling me.
So I
Okay, so did you put it in there? Would you put how much? 1/2 ounce of orgeat? Look it up. Look it up. I think she's right, but
I
she's
see
wrong.
it in the chat.
Yeah, well, we're gonna look it up again. Because I think she's not remembering how much orgeat is in there because it's an incredibly bitter drink.
I said it was good. It was just the bitters, just that like that
Well, you
was
put in,
all
yeah,
you
no,
got.
no. So what you did, the trick of the drink, the thing that's crazy about the drink is that you're using what they call a non-potable bitter, meaning don't drink this, right? But you're putting 1 ounce of it in there. So it's crazy. What does our recipe say? Our recipe says Shannon's right, apparently. Okay, 1 ounce orgeat, 1 ounce Angostura, 3/4 lemon juice, 1/2 100 proof rye. Okay, I think she's
Okay, I got it.
redoing that in the chat. Okay, that second one is the right one.
Yeah, I can see why it's there. So there are some weird recipes out there.
It's a weird one, but this is the one we use at the bar because it's delicious this way. And I believe I stole this from the person who made the drink. So it's
So
not even
next time I'm in for brunch, I know what to order.
Trinidad. Please, we will make it. Happy to make it. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Of course. Please don't hesitate. I love when Claire's right. Okay. Thank you all so much. Really, really appreciate it. Claire and I love this every month. And we can't wait to see y'all for agave and or sooner. For those of you who are closer to us, it is nice to see you at the bar as well. See y'all soon.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Great
Bye.
evening. Very good. Love you.
Thanks, Mom.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.